Goo Lagoon, where this is the place that about the fact that we were able to have a nice relaxation at the particular beach, well, to be more specifically, the Bikini Bottom version of the beach itself or something. Hey, what is up everyone, I am Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom for the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. So, last time we have managed to able to, well, I would say we pretty much done almost the rest of the entire portion in downtown Bikini Bottom, and also we did manage to able to go back into Jellyfish Fields, so that way we managed to get ourselves the final golden spatula on our world. So today for this episode, we're about to be moving on to Goo Lagoon, which appears to be the next wilderness game. So, yeah, nothing much to say about this here.
Goo Lagoon, a sun-drenched beach of sludge at the bottom of the sea. But all is not well here on Paradise.
Alright, so here we are at the Goo Lagoon itself, so hopefully we would be able to actually just to be expected, we'll go ahead and grab some more golden spatulas. Well, not all of them per se, because I'll explain more about this whenever we're able to continue things on during the forms of the later corresponding portions of this Let's Play itself. So obviously today's day is of course the 8th of June today, and I'll explain more discussions on that in just any moment. By the way, that particular sound effect does sound familiar, doesn't it? Although, I'll point it out until whenever we get onto later, but basically we have these new enemies, and all you have to do is basically just have to press the triangle button if you manage to able to deal the amount of damage.
SpongeBob, do I look burned?
Well, you do look a little red.
Barnacles! That darn robot.
Robot?
Yeah, a big robot stole everybody's sunscreen.
Oh no! Everyone will burn, and then they'll get all itchy and peel.
Exactly! You can't spend a day at the beach without sunscreen. That sun is way too hot. That robot is out on the island. Nobody can get to him. SpongeBob, maybe you can use those sun reflectors to point the sun's rays on that robot. If you hit one of the buttons on the side of a lifeguard tower, the reflector will turn. Connect all the towers and the light will shoot right out of the big reflector on the island. Then all you have to do is swim out to the island and turn the big reflector onto the robot. I'll stay here and protect the babes.
But I, can't swim.
So yeah, we've now managed to bump into Larry the Lobster once again, except now, the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that the entire objective is pretty much a lot more different than the forms of how it does it from, well, to be more specifically, since in downtown Bikini Bottom. And because of that, we need to do some sort of like a puzzle kind of mission, and unfortunately for the sake of time, I'll discuss more about this until any seconds worth noting for, because if you couldn't tell already, I'm actually going to be pretty terrible at these puzzle missions, because as a result, some of them can be easy and some of them are just like, well, impossible to complete to my spare time. And as a result, I have no idea how on earth am I supposed to do it. I know some people seem to do this no problem, but for me, I have no idea how am I supposed to able to actually do this correctly. And as far as you guys should already know, that I said this countless amount of times as a semi-blind playthrough, as you guys should know. And in fact, because of this though, there's also a excuse me. There's also another way you can able to do this super easily though, but we'll explain more on that later, because for now, we'll go ahead and dish out as many of those enemies as we could, and yeah, because as you can see in this distance over there, there's actually that enemy that has usually appeared right over there. And basically, we need to solve this puzzle out, because if you somehow solve the puzzle, then you would able to accomplish the actual mission itself like this, but even then it's just that sometimes I have no idea what I'm gonna do right here, and as a result, it can lead me to some sense of confusion. Although, again, as I mentioned this before, about the fact that whenever we get onto the future missions, that some of them are pretty easy to handle, while some of them can get pretty difficult at times. Mainly with the due to how the fact that, again, it's a semi-blind playthrough, as you guys should already know. But don't worry, whenever we get onto the rehydrated version of that particular Let's Play itself, then I should be able to actually become, like, not so much blinded or anything like that. Although, the only time is, of course, the actual missions themselves can attempt to really give me struggling at points. So, but either way, though, that's all I can really say about this for the most part. So, unfortunately, for the sake of time, I will gonna skip this mission for now, but it wasn't until whenever I come back into that particular mission, until later on throughout the majority of this Let's Play itself. So, either way, though, hopefully we should able to make it happen. So, yeah, today's day is, of course, the 8th of June today, in this case in 2020. Although, there's also another thing I'd like to discuss upon, and that was the fact that we have ourselves some new stuff has been happening during the forms of it. Let's just say in Dr. Mario World recently, that we actually got ourselves not one, but two new doctors, which one of them is pretty obvious, and one of them is actually a weird choice. Like, for instance, we got ourselves Dr. Koopa Troopa, which is pretty obvious, because ever since in certain spin-offs, like Mario Party 9 and Super Mario Party, that he obviously makes his debut in the Dr. Mario game. And, for whatever reason, they just put a Dr. Dolphin, which I was like, that is very odd and bizarre at the same time. I'm not exactly sure if they're able to actually get ourselves likely, well, I don't know what I think about it right now. Although mainly it's because of how the fact that, well, I'm guessing it's probably because they're trying to able to make this more accurately a summer term kind of characters or something like that. But I'm guessing it's probably far from the case. So, and as you can see right there, we're actually doing a lot of platforming right here as Patrick. And because of that, we need to go ahead and grab ourselves our next sock. So hopefully we should be able to, you know, still utilize fruits, or in this case some watermelons as you see there. So that way we can actually activate those switches, which by the way, these are time-based switches, kind of thing about it. And as a result of that kind of stuff though, we need to make our way to that particular lifeguard tower over there. And that way, you would able to get yourselves a next sock. And since we actually got 10 of these at the moment, then that way we can able to get ourselves another golden spatula if we manage to able to actually give away 10 more socks to Patrick. So that way we can get ourselves our next golden spatula. In fact, talking of which actually, it's the fact that what if we get onto almost at the ending portion of this so far, then I would able to actually classify for doing all these socks grinding. So as a result, that'll make it happen. And, oh, what do we have right here? It's just a random kid that just usually have some thrill fun rides on these balloons, potentially. And before we talk to Mrs. Puff, although kind of thing about it, I have no idea why.
Oh no! The children's balloons have been overfilled! They're carrying the children out of control!
I don't know, Mrs. Puff. It looks like they're having a lot of fun.
Yes, too much fun if you ask me. You can save the children by bubble bashing each of the balloons. Bubble bash all the balloons, then come see me for a reward.
Can do, Mrs. Puff.
Okay, so in this objective is the fact that we need to able to pop all of those balloons, specifically all 5 balloons, until you're able to actually accomplish the entire objective. And all you have to do is basically, you know, with that particular bubble bash ability that we can able to only pop, because that was the only time you can only pop. However though, you can't able to utilize the actual spin attack because, well, that won't work. So, even then though, you have to be extremely dead on when it comes to aiming at the balloons, because if you somehow bump into one of the children, then basically it will not count as a pop. So, just keep that in mind. And before we continue with the rest, let's go ahead and grab another sock, which is actually pretty simple, self-explanatory to obtain that. And, yeah, as far as Goo Lagoon, as far as you might as well notice, is actually first introduced ever since in Ripped Pants episodes since Season 1. In fact, someone said in the comments about the fact that, yes, the idiot box was actually in, well, you know what these little boxes that can usually teleport you to a different parts of the world? The idiot box is actually in Season 3, so even then though, kudos to one of the comments, so thank you for able to remind me about this specific knowledge, because again, it has been such a long time since I actually watched SpongeBob SquarePants TV series basically, because I'm pretty much used to with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic all of a sudden, especially noticeable with, well, to be more specifically, Friendship is Forever. In fact, recently, I've now finally managed to get able to watch all of these 6 clip shows episodes from the likes of Friendship is Forever category. So as a result, I still enjoyed those, even it does feel a little bit, I don't know, some sort of like a memory kind of way. But ultimately speaking, it's because the reason why they have to do this, because until eventually in October, as you know, that the entire TV series, Friendship is Magic, will be entirely a decade old. Until at some point in the 10th of October in 2010. Well, that was back then, that was, even though despite the fact that I wasn't actually known about that at first, because I was, well, I was a teenager, so as a result, I was a little bit too stroppy and stuff like that, but again, it wasn't until in 2012, at the end of that year, that I somehow managed to able to give this show a chance, and as a result, I still enjoy it even to this day, especially noticeable for almost 8 years ago. Well, I would say almost roughly 8 years ago. In fact, it was actually like 7.5 years by this point in time. So yeah, as a result of that kinds of stuff, though, they might be new to me back then, so, but I digress. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, that today's day is, of course, the 8th of June today, so there's no point for able to discuss on this at this front, apart from the fact that recently, that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie on the DVD version on the UK release has finally came out today, in new forms within the UK countries, including the Blu-ray version as well as the 4K Ultra HD release as well. So, pretty cool stuff though, and thankfully I can able to rewatch that film all over again, so that way I can able to enjoy myself with that particular film, because it is so good. But I digress. Even though some people seem to have found this a little bit, well, I don't know what I truly explain about this right from the start though, just because, well, either way though, let's just go ahead and, oh, by the way, if you talk to one of those NPCs that it does not required, basically, you know, Patrick were able to discuss, to Bubble Buddy, and then he'll say something completely different, like, for instance, that, you don't get the actual required mission unless if you're able to switch over to SpongeBob, then you would be able to actually talk to Bubble Buddy. But before we get on to that, actually, we need to continue our progressioning in terms of saving the children from popping those balloons. So hopefully we would be able to do that. So, but even then, again, there are only 5 of them to able to actually just to rescue them, unlike the ones in just only one jelly from Squidward in Jellyfish Fields. And in fact, talking of which, actually, is the fact that I'm assuming in downtown Bikini Bottom was actually firstly introduced in terms of the actual environment itself. I'm guessing it's probably, jeez, it has been such a long time for this. But I do notice that in Jellyfish Fields, firstly introduced in Jellyfishing episode, which is pretty obvious standard stuff. And Goo Lagoon was actually firstly introduced in the forms of Ripped Pants episode, that one time when, you know, SpongeBob accidentally just managed to, you know, with the forms of that particular weighing competition, whenever you're trying to able to lift up some things and stuff, where Larry the Lobster just managed to able to introduce to Sandy and SpongeBob able to lift up things, but it turns out SpongeBob accidentally just somehow ripped his pants by able to having too much strength or pressure, and then he somehow managed to come across into a ripped pants. Of course, he able to actually overdo it, but of course that by the middle portion of the episode, Sandy was like, "That wasn't funny, SpongeBob, you're making me sick." And as a result of that kinds of stuff though, that's as far as I can still remember, ever since back in long time ago actually, including a decade, I can't speak for this point today folks, I must admit that I do apologize, because basically I just managed to watch most of these SpongeBob episodes back to back since 2010, which I can't even believe it's been the entire decade already.
my hero. You've saved the children. Here's a golden spatula as a reward.
Alright, there we go. So that way we'll get ourselves the next or the first golden spatula in terms of, you know, Goo Lagoon. I was expecting if I was going to be able to do the first mission, which is of course, you know, with that particular connect the towers kind of mission. But instead of doing that, excuse me, I really do sorry about this point, folks. I really am. Just because I'm still eating some chili dogs for some reason, but I can't help it for myself. But anyway, though, yeah, let's just go ahead and deal with the next mission for this point, because otherwise there's not much else I can really try and able to think about this for the time being. So, because of that, let's just go ahead and just keep on jumping from platform to platform, and, well, we can able to just hop on here, and then just jump from another platform to platform, and hit onto the ginormous sandcastle, and hopefully, we would be able to bump into the, of course, Bubble Buddy once again, ever since in pretty much in every single world so far, at least in terms of jellyfish fields and etc. etc.
SpongeBob, I heard that you were collecting golden spatulas.
Yes, Bubble Buddy, I am. Have you seen one?
Why, yes! We were having a sandcastle contest, and somebody put a golden spatula on the top.
If I had a castle, I'd name it Fort Pattytown III. And Fort Pattytown III would have a big bake sale every Monday.
The golden spatula?
Oh, at the top of the sandcastle, right! That should be easy to reach.
Well, perhaps you should see for yourself.
Okay, so now we need to make our way all the way from here. So that way, before we continue, we need to take care of those, you know, 2 new keys as to be expected, and we need to activate that particular switch. So that way we need to go ahead and, you know, hopefully make our way to the top. That's what the actual Bubble Buddy just already shown you for this point. Because either way, if you manage to activate that switch, by the way, the water will start to rise. And, similarly to say, much like Sonic the Hedgehog, in this case me either way, seems somehow that SpongeBob and Patrick are usually far lacking with swimming, so as a result, that you will die instantly in the actual water segments, as you probably already know, ever since in Jellyfish Fields World. So because of that, well, I'm guessing they pretty much act out like the same thing as me. Although, to be more specifically, you remember the episode called Sponge Guard, which, you know, when SpongeBob becomes a bodyguard, or lifeguard rather, that usually he just goes on duty and stuff, like Sponge duty on you know, duty and stuff, or in this case Sponge Guard on duty episode. That's what I meant to say for this point right there. I do apologize for the actual tangents right there, but just because of how the fact that it has been like quite a while since I actually played this though. But recently, relatively speaking, oh really? Oh, screw you. Screw you, you stupid enemy. Jeez, what's the point of giving me too many emphasis on knockbacks all of a sudden? Anyway, because yeah, relatively speaking, it's the fact that we've only got about, I would say, if I'm not mistaken here, I think we've actually got about 15 days to go until, to be more specifically, the remake of this game will be released on the PlayStation 4 and of course the Nintendo Switch versions as well. In fact, let me know in the comments below about the fact that what version are you about to be getting. Could be either the Nintendo Switch version, for you can play this game on the go for a very long time, or you can able to get the PlayStation 4 version for trophy support, and also or you can able to purchase that game on Xbox One for pretty much exactly the same thing as the PS4 release, except it's on achievements instead of trophies. So let me know in the comments below of what version you're about to be getting, or for the sake of time, for the sake of the funds of likely you got, or we got about 15 days left. So there we go, there's the another golden spatula that we've now actually... Excuse me. I really do apologize for that, a lot of belching for this point today, folks, because I know it's usually disgusting and stuff like that, but I must admit though, I can't help it for myself of eating too many chili dogs all of a sudden. anyways, if you go up here, then this will obviously give us another sock. So it's actually pretty easy to get, kind of think about it. And look at all that. What a lot of shiny objects that we've recently collected. So that's very convenient. And of course, there's actually a progressioning over there. But we'll save that for later, because even then we need to do some more bits. Like, for instance, that I know there was actually a little bit of a pathway we can able to go to by simply trying to make our way to, if I can show you something, you know what I mean, and that is this area right here. And of course, I need to keep on farming some more of those shiny objects, kind of thing about it. So even though that makes it pretty obvious, and look at that, 2015. In this case, likely 5 years ago at this rate, so there's not much else to tell. And yeah, I can't reach it from over there, but that's okay, because we'll hopefully find another way to actually reach it up there. So, in fact, relatively speaking, we could able to just get on here and... oh, jeez Louise, the camera might screw me up right there. Yep, it did screw me up. Luckily though, if you somehow die, then the actual Tanukis, or Tikis rather, will be respawned. Oh, I did not notice the checkpoint was not even active. Is it going to active or something? Hold on, let me just... what? I don't understand. Why is it not active? Do I just have to... okay. Does that gonna lead me to... it takes me all the way back, isn't it? Yep, I just knew it. I did not notice that. I did not notice that. Oh well. No big of a deal. Besides, it's not that long though. Especially noticeable how, well, it's actually not that far to reach to it. So anyways, let's try this again. Hopefully for a much more better camera angle this time. And there we go. Now we're able to dodge the rest of the explosion and get ourselves the next sock. So, even though there's not much else to write to home about, and we need to make our way over there though, which either way, I know most people seem to able to do it normally by simply only selecting Patrick to able to actually just to carry that particular Tiki stone, if you will, and that way this will able to actually lead us to the actual progressioning for, you know, not only just trying to spend that particular clamshell or trying to spend the actual shiny objects to that clamshell, and then you would be able to progress. So it will be pretty interesting if we're able to do a Let's Play of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, also on the PlayStation 2 as well, made by the same people, by the way, with, you know, Heavy Iron Studios, which is, perhaps is without doubt, one of the greatest, you know, video game companies, even though I'm not exactly sure what the last game they've made in terms of Heavy Iron Studios. I'm guessing it's probably Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2 or something like that. But then again though, it has been such a long time since I actually did manage to research on certain things like this. Especially noticeable how the fact that, well, usually if I was gonna able to research on something, then obviously I know what to be expect. So yeah, it looks like there's nothing we can do around here. And of course we need to be very careful of those flamethrowers, as you can see, because again, if you get hit by flamethrowers... oh, that leads me back there. Okay, that seems a little bit odd, admittedly. Even though he only has like 2 teleporting boxes, if you want to know what's going on around here. Again, much like in the last video, it's the fact that there's not much else I can usually think about it. Well, don't worry, until when it gets to the point until likely on Wednesday or something, then I can probably able to actually become a little bit more better in terms of, not only for the sake of the forms of keep on exploring, in terms of, you know, Goo Lagoon, but also that just trying to able to discuss upon other things worth mentioning. Specifically, the most recent Mario Kart Tour event that's what's been going on at this point in time, which I'll probably discuss on that more on that later. Specifically, you know, when it gets to on Wednesday or something, then I can probably discuss on that later. But from now on though, we'll just go ahead. I think I should probably stick with SpongeBob from now on, but if not, then I'm guessing I'm also able to switch over to Patrick in case of, you know, some complicated things here and there is about to happen. But then again though, I must admit though for this point guys, I really do apologize for the actual, for the sake of the forms of trying to be more accurately semi-blind or something, so... Yeah, I must admit I do apologize. But then again, it's all in the future, we can at least expect him to know what we're gonna do. But either way though, especially whenever we get on to the remake Let's Play of this game, which is of course rehydrated version of the game, then I know exactly how this is going to be going through, so... Anyways, there's also another stock that is usually up here, but I'm guessing we're probably going to be using Patrick for the sake of the forms of getting that sock, so... Yeah, it seems pretty obvious. You can also pull off at that particular shortcut right there if you don't be bothered able to actually go for the normal pathway like I just did. So thankfully, we did at least manage to able to accomplish that specific stuff. So either way though, let's go ahead and continue for this point. And well, after destroying a lot of those enemies as you see, and yeah, there's not much right to home about, and especially noticeable just trying to discuss on things, because either way though, there's not much else I can talk about it. In fact, one thing I forgot to mention something, ever since Enduring Forms have been, excuse me, I'm really sorry about this point, folks. Is it possible I can reach it from here? Oh, sweet. Yay, we can able to actually, I'm guessing we probably need to be using Patrick for this part, so yeah, it looks like we need Patrick for this next objective, so even then though, good thing though, oh wait, let me just go ahead and, is it possible I can go back? Well, I could. Well, if only if I actually activate that checkpoint right there, so, good thing I did manage to do that anyway, so that way it can keep me, little bit more of a tracking going on around here, and I know it's not I know it's not exact the moment we were expecting it for, but either way though, we'll just go ahead and now switch over to Patrick right now. So either way though, we can now able to do more things with him. So anyways, and yes, much like the forms of Jellyfish Fields, both SpongeBob and Patrick are both playable on this stage. And unlike in downtown Bikini Bottom, as well as the next world until coming up soon, Sandy, she's not a playable character on this world, so keep that in mind. So, I'm probably not going to go for that shortcut as Patrick, because since I've already accomplished that with SpongeBob and stuff, so hopefully I could be able to, you know, just trying to able to go for that. So anyways, let's go ahead and toss this ice cube and toss it into the water, and that way we can get ourselves the, what else, the next sock. So, I'm pretty sure this world only contains like 9 of those socks, I'm presuming, but then again, we'll have a look at the tally whenever we're able to just pay attention to the actual mission selection screen. I really hate the knockback in this game! I really wish if this will be fixed in a remake, although I'm not exactly sure yet, because I've not actually seen, oh wait, because of the coronavirus pandemic, isn't it? Yeah, as far as I just noticed. In fact, we have not seen a new gameplay footage of the actual remake so far, at least in on-screen front, just because of how the fact that, again, because of the pandemic coronavirus thing, which has always been, you know, the worst part about this year, just because, well, everything about this year, it has some good parts though still, don't get me wrong, but we'll probably talk more about it whenever we get on to the very end of that particular year. Trust me, I know, it's gonna be the biggest ranting thing I've ever gonna be encountering in my life. Even for Mario's life, don't forget, but either way, we'll point it out later, so, anyways, can I even make it? Oh, really? That counts as a death? Gee, I did not expect that. I seriously did not expect this with that particular, you know, despicable death that we actually come across into. Like, I was gonna able to make it to that leaps of faith right there, but it turns out I accidentally touched the water, and as a result, oh, no. Okay, that worked. That works for me. That definitely works for me. So anyways, let's go ahead and deal with this, this little switch thing here, and hopefully we should probably do with the trickiest platforming segments where we get out to utilize with that trampolines and stuff, and just going for shifting from platform to platform with those little floaties and stuff. So, while simply dodging those flamethrower dragons, if I'm assuming for this matter. Oh, I'm all the way back here? That's just ridiculous. Oh wait, I must be able to trust that checkpoint from before, so... Whoops. You guys have no idea. You obviously have no idea what this is going, but either way though, it's just my playthrough. I know some people seem to do it a little bit differently compared to me, but apart from those side of things though, I've got nothing else to say, so... Yeah, I must admit that I do apologize, so... Yeah, I suppose there's something I want to mention this also, is the fact that recently I'm most able to continuously going back into Paper Mario Color Splash recently, and the progression I was in right now is the most annoying stage in the game in my opinion, which is of course the returning Sniffet's Quiz Challenge, which if you remember that from the likes of Sticker Star's Sniffet Quiz, well, the developers might think it was the best part of the game and decided able to bring that concept back. And I was just like, well, I'm also able to get a massive game over on that front. Speaking of game overs though, actually, much like in Sticker Star that I usually play that game on my own time sometimes, I come across into a lot of game overs in between several stages worth knowing for, because jeez Louise, why in a world is this suddenly a thing when it comes to likely dealing with a lot of hazards while dealing with the overworld and stuff? Oh, it's just a lot of busy work, you know? Alright, so now we got ourselves our next golden spatula right here, so that leads us to 24 of those so far, and I think we've actually got about 76 golden spatulas left, so we still got a whole way to go for this point, folks. We still got a whole ways to go. But even then though, spoiler warning for those of you who want to know what this Let's Play will be finished until, well, unfortunately though, it will not be ended until specifically later on throughout the summer, because we'll discuss on that whenever me and Mario will tackle through Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games next month, and especially noticeable until likely next month or two, that specifically Piglet were able to deal with the next Pac-Man World game, which appears to be Pac-Man World 2, and during at some point in next month. Spoiler warning if you want to know when that's going to come up. So, anyway. Alright, so let's go ahead and hopefully we'll make our way to this next part, and then if we do somehow made it to the forms of that particular caves part, then we should probably end things off at that point right there. I know I was going to be able to 100% everything on this though, but either way though, we'll able to actually just... It's always going to be a knockback, isn't it? It's always going to be a knockback. I know it's definitely some sort of like a retro feeling or something like that, but even then though, that it just simply just, you know, bothers me most of the time, especially if you really want to speed things up a notch. Even though I've managed to notice in some other speedrunners of this game, some seems to able to actually just to do it okay enough, but whenever you're trying to able to rush things up, specifically trying to pass for that, you know, that darn flamethrower by those little dragons and stuff like that. And as a result, they might as well able to actually just have to reset their runs if they keep on messing things up a little bit. But I might be curious if I was able to actually decide to watch some of those speed runs in terms of this game in general. But even then though, it does appear a lot during the forms of in Glad Jonas's channel, as well as Speedrun Fails YouTube channel and stuff like that. But I'm guessing it's more likely similar amounts as in Super Mario 64. Or in fact, speaking of Super Mario 64, Super Mario 64 becomes even much popular in terms of speedrun, you know, categories and everything. Specifically in Glad Jonas, and especially noticeable with Speedrun Fails, which even then I felt incredibly bad for them if they managed to fail certain tasks like this. But either way though, it's one in pointing things out right away. So, unfortunately we can't able to spend that much in terms of shiny objects from now on until whenever we get onto the later progressioning of this world. But don't worry, we'll be able to actually just to farm some more of those. Or you know, just trying to able to grind for some more of those shiny objects. In fact, I will able to actually do that in a later portion of the Let's Play, because trust me, I know. And so whenever we get on to the future, specifically, you know, with the forms of the exchanging shiny objects to Mr. Krabs in Bikini Bottom Hop World, then I might able to actually do that a lot for the sake of this game in particular. So, anyways, let's move on to here, and here we go into the sea caves themselves. So, yeah.
Hello, Gary. What's new? Meow. You don't say. Squidward bought a new sweater. Oh, he's so crazy. Meow. And there's a golden spatula at the end of this cave. Wow!
I'm afraid to tell you for this point, guys. I think we're gonna have to end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. And that was the fact that we are still about to be continuing things on in Goo Lagoon by exploring in a cave. So see you guys until then. Later, fellas.